MagicInspiration.com.
Orson Welles is one of my favorite directors and kind of a personal hero of mine in the creative world. This is a guy who always knew what he wanted, never compromised, and accepted, well, kind of accepted, that, you know, he was never going to get to make the things that he wanted to do through the studio system. So he kind of went off and he made them by himself, and that meant, you know, just beg, borrow, and steal from anybody that he could. And he made some great movies that people are at last discovering. And to me, while I love Citizen Kane, it is his masterpiece. It's hard to argue with that. And I love The Stranger and I love Lady from Shanghai, which are two ones that people kind of recognize more. To me, if he has a real, genuine masterpiece as far as a completely original vision, it is his adaptation of Kafka's The Trial. This here is my Orson Welles collection. It has Magnificent Ambersons, Macbeth, Mr. Arcadian, Touch of Evil, The Trial, and Chimes at Midnight. Chimes at Midnight I need to watch, because that's the one too that everybody says is fantastic, and that is his masterpiece. But The Trial is one of the movies, excuse me, that nobody saw at the time. I think it's lapsed into public domain. And it was actually hard to hunt down a copy of. I actually had to buy this set, which had these other movies in it, kind of cheap quality versions of it too. You could get much better versions of Magnificent Ambersons. I've toyed with the idea of replacing some of these discs with the better quality versions, but The Trial, when they talk about a Kafka-esque nightmare, this is what they're talking about. The Trial stars Anthony Perkins as a man living in a world that we don't know much about. It's sort of a dystopian future, or present, or past. We don't really know. And one day, just out of nowhere, these authorities come in and they say, you're under arrest. For what? They don't say. And being under arrest in this world is very different. He's still free to, like, go about, and he's now trying to prove his innocence. For what? He doesn't know. That's the other thing. He's trying to find out what he's being accused of. And, you know, this movie, more than any other movie I've ever seen, demonstrates how a film can be like a nightmare. They talk about dream quality in certain movies. This is a complete nightmare. To the point where, you know, you open a door and you're in a place you shouldn't be. And then you can't go back. And there are people there that shouldn't be there. Nothing makes sense. Nothing you're being told makes sense. And it's maddening. For the character, for yourself as the viewer, you're watching it and you don't know what's happening to him. And in another context, that could be frustrating. You know, in a way that ruins a movie. Not here. Here, it makes the movie. This character, played by Anthony Perkins, to perfection, by the way. I mean, best performance outside of Norman Bates for Anthony Perkins. He just wants to be left alone. He just wants to live his life, his little life that he's grown accustomed to. And now suddenly he's thrown into the middle of this mystery that he doesn't understand, that he's at the center of. There is a scene in this movie where he goes up to an artist's loft in order to get legal advice. Why? So he goes up to this loft, and there's these children that follow him up the stairs, these tight, confined, dark stairs. And in this room, this hot, cramped little room, there's gaps in the walls, you know, and the kids are all staring through. And they're watching, and they're giggling, and they're interrupting. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I was so on edge watching it in the way that most horror movies don't put me on edge. This is the kind of movie that you have to really be in a certain mood to watch. I mean, this is not just your buddy comes over and, oh, you want to watch something? Yeah, let's watch a trial. You know, you got to be in a very specific mood to watch this. I don't even think it's a movie to watch with another person. I feel like I've only ever watched this movie alone. And it's not one of my favorite movies, is the thing. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done like in a long time what my top 100 movies are. I don't know if The Trial would make the list. I don't feel like it would, because it's not that it's an enjoyable experience, but an experience it is. Orson Welles creates a world here that doesn't make any sense, that is unjust, where people are, you know, harassed by the law for reasons they don't understand and are never told. Maybe not all that unfamiliar to us in the real world sometimes. The Trial, 5 stars. This is a masterpiece, but a one that people don't know about as much as Citizen Kane, for example. You should seek this out. Absolutely. It's a bit tough to find, but it's well worth it if you can. 5 stars. This is the most terrifying movie in a lot of ways that you will ever watch, and it's great. The worlds.
Sort of gave myself the challenge of, okay,